When I first met with the woman behind me here tonight, I remember looking down at a piece of paper we were given to begin brainstorming our ideas and answer some preliminary questions, one of which was, what is your favorite quote? And I stopped for a second to think because I was fresh out of college, I read 8 books that summer, which is a lot for me, yet not a single quote came to my mind. In fact, I was shocked at the lack of quotes I had on deck, let alone remembering who said them or how they would resonate with me. Then one day, I sat down to write my to-do list and remind myself to begin working on my story. And as I opened my planner and turned the page, there it was on the top, the quote that truly stood out to me. And it's a quote by Tony Robbins, and it reads, "Stay committed to your decisions and remain flexible in your approach." And this one sat with me. It hit me hard and it resonated because that's exactly what my upbringing and my story has been about all along. At the root of it all, I've been committed to my decision to be a good person and to do the right thing, yet my approach changed over time. I was brought back to a situation in 2nd grade where I was getting ready for my first big spelling test. And this is one where we learned words like toothpaste with a silent E at the end, or background whose placement of the G always tripped me up. And I was committed to acing that test, being a good student, being a good daughter in the eyes of my parents, to whom I am an only child. A few days before the big exam, I was even more excited for recess, as I loved the monkey bars. My friend and I were pretty good at it, and we taught lessons to the other kids. So from like hanging to the bars or skipping or hanging upside down. And one day I was feeling very adventurous. So I made little business cards like the entrepreneur I was, construction paper, crayons, glue, the whole thing. And I was passing it around for everyone to join my recess monkey bar session. I was going to teach everyone to jump not to the 5th, but the 6th bar, something that was never done before. And I remember standing on the platform, looking down at the many people and classmates around me. I was bending my legs, preparing for that launch. And I leapt into the air. It felt so good. In milliseconds, I was flying toward that 6th bar. And that's about all I remember from being in the air. I saw the green metal bar very briefly. I remember skimming it with my fingertips, and I heard gasps all around me because the next thing I knew, I was on the wood chips, and it was what felt like frozen time. I looked down and something was crooked with my left hand, and it was definitely broken. The following days were miserable, and it was my left arm that was broken. Mind you, I am left-handed. Amidst those miserable days, I still had that first big spelling test, the one that I was studying tirelessly for, and my teacher very kindly told me I could spell the words out loud during recess, so I didn't miss out on any schoolwork because I couldn't write. I remember thinking this was not an option for me. Not only would I miss recess, my favorite time of day where I used to be really good at the monkey bars, but I would not be able to write or draw or do crafts in class like I always enjoyed. After about 2 or 3 days of misery, I took matters into my own hands and learned to write with my right hand. Not only to avoid missing the spelling test, as this was the case, but I feel like I was also doing it to impress my parents and seem cool or perseverant to those around me. I want to seem like a rock star and seem like a cool girl that can persevere. I remember getting home, and I would immediately do things with my opposite hand. I would open doors, I would organize things in my room, I would write every letter of the alphabet 30 times or so. And it was great to keep me busy, although again, I can't truly remember why I wanted to accomplish this. Looking back, I realized that I was oftentimes motivated by those around me. I wanted to praise them or gain approval and would constantly think, what would my parents think? Or how can I seem cool in front of my friends? A similar way of thinking guided me through the trials and tribulations of Polish school, and later in life, religious ed, which was connected to the curriculum. Like my family wanted, I embraced my Polish heritage, navigated the traditions, the language, and everything in between. In the past, when it came to my Polish culture, I would proudly celebrate the holidays and translate for my parents when we would go out to dinner. On the phone, I would tell my dad, "Odbierz mnie za 15 minut," instead of saying, "pick me up in 15 minutes." I often did it while trying to seem cool or unique. Being from Poland was, in fact, cool, and if I could speak my language in front of my friends, I'd get their attention for a good chunk of time and teach them little things like how to say hi or "I'm from Naperville" in Polish. Growing up, I struggled between my American identity and my Polish roots. I often found myself caught in the intricate strands of my Polish and American upbringing, each thread representing a different aspect of my cultural identity. I would fight between my American self that ate peanut butter and jelly on Wonder Bread during lunch and my Polish self that liked getting pierogi in my thermos or gołąbki when I got home. Consciously or not, I would put on this mask and embrace the culture or situation that others would accept from me at the time. My approach, again, was to be good and correct in the eyes of others, in this case, make my family proud. My decision remained the same, and my approach at this time also remained the same, and that was to meet some sort of extrinsic need to gain that praise. In 8th grade, Catholics go through something called confirmation, which is where you quite literally confirm your faith. And I remember walking down the aisle with my hands crossed, and a huge part of me still was thinking about my family, my upbringing, kind of doing this for others, not entirely myself. And over the next 5 years or so, I would continue to ride the wave of my Polish and American culture and doing what I thought was right. I would sacrifice important time to hang out with friends and appeal to them. I would miss church to spend time with my boyfriend, and ultimately found myself just pouring out of an empty cup for others. I can't remember the exact moment, and honestly still don't know the exact moment that came, but I learned that you cannot be fully satisfied from only pleasing others. This is where I began to change my approach. And my approach became this: do it for you. Some might consider my approach grounded in selfishness, though I consider my decision rooted in self-awareness and self-respect. And so, I slowly began revisiting things that I truly enjoyed, the values I stood behind, and what made me, at my core, happy. My approach changed, but my decision to be a good person and bring joy to others remained the same. In fact, it got easier because at the core, when I am happy, so are others around me. Additionally, it feels much better when my actions are not forced or done for the sake of impressing others. Nowadays, I rarely pay attention to which language I use. My Polish accent is undetectable, yet I still hold on to the language and celebrate my heritage proudly. I truly believe in my culture, my religious values, and I certainly don't do it to please my family or others. If you're in the crowd and if you know what Dzień Dziecka or Kids Day is, I stand with you for receiving gifts from our parents for as long as we can, because just because I'm 23 doesn't mean I can't be celebrated as a child and receive gifts like I always used to. And that's certainly not something I'm doing for others, so proves my point. These two impactful situations in my life illuminated the importance of prioritizing my own needs over seeking validation from others. This shift underscored the significance of remaining true to myself while maintaining flexibility in my approach. Reflecting on my journey, I realized I'm no longer a kid, so why should I think like one? When I used to ask myself why, as a people pleaser, I'd answer to make everyone happy or to get a good grade, but it's deeper than that. Over time, I've realized the shift happens when my why becomes I. Because I want to succeed in school. Because I want to find happiness within myself. Because I want to keep up with my schoolwork despite some challenges. My approach used to revolve around doing the right things to avoid punishment and gain praise. Now, I embrace a more flexible approach and a considerate one as well. My favorite quote embodies this transformation. And as I step into the expanse of my young adult years and beyond, I forged a commitment to myself under the wise words written on my planner when we first began this storytelling project. I will always remember what I read at the top of the page. Remain committed to my decision while being flexible in my approach. Thank you.